Whoa, I have 9,327 followers on Twitter.
Holy shit.
I
How'd you
know.
get that many?
You know that picture I had you show Flash of me in the hot pink bikini?
Yeah.
I tweeted it.
That's cheating.
Dad, if you had that bikini and you had this body and you looked that good in that picture, you wouldn't tweet it out? You just made such a mom face.
That's not a mom face. That's what. If your mom's making that face, it's because she took it from me. This is my face.
Okay.
That's a dad face.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Wow. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
I didn't realize I was that powerful. I'm sorry. Hello. That's better.
Like back, like
I'm
right.
sorry.
Okay, good.
I didn't mean to blow out your eardrums.
Guys, congratulations on this show. Dennis, congratulations to you. You wrote, I mean, every episode that I watched on the screener you wrote. Did you write the entire first season?
I did. I did. I wrote one episode is written by a good friend of mine, Evan Riley, who was one of the 3 writers on Rescue Me, who then went on after Rescue Me to do The Walking Dead, and now is doing Ballers at HBO. And there was one episode that was co-written by myself and my son because we wanted to do an EDM episode and involving Liz's character, and I don't know fucking shit about EDM.
Yeah, but neither do I.
Yeah, so my son, who's a terrific musician, and he knew, we wanted to satirize that scene, but, to write that kind of music, I wouldn't have a clue. So my son co-wrote one episode with me and co-wrote the music. He actually wrote one whole song himself. I like the EDM episode. It's one of my favorites. I think it's episode 9.
Yeah, it's 9.
Yeah, episode
I remember
9.
it.
Yeah.
It's a wild
I'm sorry
one.
if you're an EDM fan, but it's,
Talk to me about developing the story between you and Liz on the show, because going into the show, I thought it was mainly going to be about you as this aging rock star, but it becomes much more honest and truthful. The story of a man and his daughter, and a man kind of who has this perception of himself that is no longer true and is kind of always bumping up against that.
Yeah, well, it's a story of a guy that, I don't know if you guys, what you've heard about the series, but basically the story of a guy that desperately, with this haircut, because this is the actual Johnny Rock haircut, because we've still been
It's a
doing...
little longer on the show.
Yeah, it's a little longer on the show, but we've still been doing photo shoots and stuff, so I've had to have the fucking haircut all summer.
No, I remember before I even knew about the show, seeing you getting your photo taken with that haircut and being like, what's Dennis? What's going on with Dennis Lear?
Because last year, with the haircut, because we were still shooting, I had to push the football movie, Draft Day,
yes,
and some other project, which I can't remember now, which is terrible, but I have Alzheimer's,
I was watching
I
Draft
guess.
Day this morning, by the way, in
Yeah,
my hotel room.
so I'm out there pushing Draft Day with this, like actually the full version of this haircut with the rooster thing and everything.
Big.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner was like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't, I'm playing a rock guy. I play a guy that's 50 who could have made it when he was like 25 if he had, if he had a smaller ego. But, he imploded his own band with a giant ego and a lot of drugs and alcohol. And now, in rock and roll, it's just the basic fact. Can any of us name a rock and roll star or a band that became famous after the age of 25? No, it doesn't fucking happen, right? Every rock star gets famous when they're young because it's a young man and a young woman's game, right? So you don't hear about like, oh yeah, Bruce Springsteen became a rock star when he was 38. Fuck no, he was already a giant rock star when he's 22. And then if you're good enough, you get to last for a generation and be the voice of a generation. So my character really blew it. And all the guys in his old band hate him. And at this point, he has no money, and he really needs to find a way to stay in the business. And that's when he discovers that he has a daughter and that she has talent, and more importantly, she has some money
It's way more important.
to go in the studio with.
Yeah.
And that's where the story starts. It's really a family story because the band, any great band, any shitty band, any band that's been together long enough becomes a dysfunctional family. And that's basically the story that we're telling is she comes in to get us all back together, even though we all hate each other and have all these bitter resentments from, 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny to watch all these guys who just have all these just years of these stories and hate each other for all these different reasons, all these resentments, and now they're thrown back all together at age 50, having to do the whole thing over again, but with a different lead singer. So I guess it's a little different.
Yeah, with a lead singer who doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and doesn't do drugs.
She doesn't do anything. Doesn't do a thing.
I've always been fascinated. One of the things that made me want to do this show was my favorite bands of all time are the Rolling Stones and the Who. The Rolling Stones are my all-time favorite band. and I was at an event that was like a birthday party, and Keith Richards was there.
That's a good birthday party.
I know,
oh
right?
my God.
It's a pretty good birthday
I don't have
party,
any
right?
friends like
Whoa,
that.
Dennis gets to go to some birthday party.
So, and you know, Keith Richards, I mean, I love that band, and I've seen that band a million times. And, you know, he's an icon. And he looks really cool when he's Keith Richards on stage. You know, he's got earrings hanging out of his hair and, like, fish hooks. And it doesn't matter, right? I mean, you've seen the pictures. And when he's on stage, you're like, fuck, I should put some shit in my hair, right? And a scarf on my head, right? And then when you see him, like, at a birthday party, and he's with his adult children, and they're kind of acting like, Dad, stop, you're not being that cool right now. You're like, oh, that's right, he's just a dad. So my character, like, I just thought it'd be really interesting to walk around with this crazy look, but you're not famous. Because it always looks insane to me when I see my 50-year-old, you know, rock guy friends on the Lower East Side, and we're walking down the street, and I'm like, dude, you know.
What are you wearing a fedora for?
I know, exactly. It's like, you have fucking snakeskin shirt on right now. What's going on? You know, so.
But not only not being a rock star anymore, I mean, he's still bumping into this idea that he himself shouldn't have this ego. And you come in and you cut him down to size, and the band keeps cutting him down to size. It's a constant learning lesson for your character.
You get kicked a lot in this show. You need it,
You
though.
go down and get kicked even harder.
Yep.
You keep walking into the fire, though, man.
I do.
I mean, you do.
I do.
I think it's a necessary.
Well, I think the
it's
comedy
necessary.
it's between me. Our relationship is. I mean, in the second episode, it's not giving away a lot to say that I negotiate with her rather than quitting everything. I give up cocaine
Because
at
that's
age
good enough
50.
for me for some
You know
reason.
what I mean?
I mean?
So, but in the rock and roll
Kill the
mentality
blow.
of his world, he's like, I gave up cocaine for you. I love you. You know what I mean? Like, you're 50. You shouldn't be doing cocaine. So it's like, it really is a story of what it's like, hopefully, ultimately, besides the family aspect, is what music is like now versus like what it used to be like. It's a different world. It's a different delivery system.
Yeah.
It's a different way to get discovered as a band. You know, younger musicians, there's still people out. People aren't really operating under the Keith Richards chemical assistance theory. There's a few, you know, but it's not like the old days. Johnny's a dinosaur and needs to catch up, you know.
What about the industry as an actor and an actress? Your generation in the industry. I mean, it's a completely different industry as well, and the mode of getting people content is completely different as well. Do you feel a difference when you work on the set, when you guys talk about the show or anything like that?
I mean, there's social media now. I educate you on that.
Yep.
But Dennis is really good. You're really good at Twitter. Everyone followed Dennis on Instagram because he just made an Instagram, and we need to get your followers up.
She's being sarcastic.
Oh no, I'm not.
She's being,
I think you're great on Twitter. You have a lot of followers on Twitter. You do it very well.
okay.
You're good at it.
By the way, she's got 3 million followers on Twitter.
I actually don't.
I have
I don't.
300,000.
No.
I'm doing really well.
First of all,
It's not
it's
really-
like 2.6. It's not 3. Second of all, I'm looking at you and you have sparkles on your jacket because I have like a sparkly thing on my arm, and I'm just like, you must be so mad right now because you're sparkling.
No, I
on
actually
camera.
like it.
You do?
I'm glittery. I like it. It's kind of a David Bowie
Sorry, I
type
got a little
of thing.
distracted there.
I'm always confused about that in the show as well. I want to go back to the social media thing.
Well, I
but-
just want to go back to the social media for a second.
Yeah, go
Here's
ahead.
what I'm thinking.
What?
Here's what I'm thinking.
What?
You have 2.6. I'm sorry, I got the figure wrong.
think it's 6.
I have 370 something. Why don't
Give
we,
some to you.
Okay, we join. My thing joins yours,
No.
and we both share the Twitter, and then I have 3 million, and you have 3 million.
Imagine like you and I in a house like coming up with what tweet we could agree on to just send out to the world.
I can just imagine your fans like, Dennis Leary keeps sending out pictures of his face. What is this? Now there's a picture of his ass. Hey!
You could do hashtag like outfit of the day.
Yeah. This is pretty much it, you know?
How did you get 2.6 million followers
I was on a
on
kids
Twitter?
show.
Oh, you're on a
That's
kid's
pretty
show.
much
That's
exactly how that
true.
happened.
If you're on a kid's show,
Yes.
you get
And we hit,
millions
it
of
was the
followers.
exact right time. I remember, and this is the saddest thing, I can say this to my kids, which it just sounds so, anybody, even a year younger than me is disgusted by me saying this, but I remember when they said, hey, there's this new thing called Twitter, you should make one. That's like what I'll have to say to my kids. Like you say, I was going to offend you, I was going to say the TV.
No. You're... But you know what?
But I'm not, it's not actually that far
You're
off.
not that far off.
The computer came around, honestly, when I was a kid, so I'm going to go back and say maybe TV was around somewhere with you.
I give my kids,
I didn't say like food. I just
but
said
listen,
the TV.
I give my kids the speech, and this is true. I have to do the speech of, hey, When I was a fucking kid, there was no remote. We had to get up and walk across the room and change the channel.
Well, yeah.
I was the remote. You know what I mean? And my mother, who's 88, comes from Ireland, will go, we didn't have electricity and we went to the bathroom outside. Now, that's how far we've come. From there to 2.6 million Twitter followers for Liz Gillies. What a great country.
We're making strides. It's beautiful.
Now, I'm very interested in when you're having kids.
Is that to me?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought we were like going to get personal.
Are you his mother? What is it? When are you having kids, Liz? What is it?
What day is it? No, I mean, if the show goes for a good long time, you're gonna have to. Gigi's gonna have to be pregnant at some point.
Well, I'm just wondering because abstractly in my head, like obviously you've thought about having kids, but you just threw it out there. When I have my kids,
random.
What age are we talking about? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll be right back with more Phil Donahue.
I don't know.
Go with it.
I don't know.
Okay.
If I were to decide to have a kid in like 5 years, I could deal with it. And if I wanted to have a kid at 40, I would do that too.
Well, you can have a kid at like 60 now, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me. This sounds upsetting and annoying, but like whenever there's a good point in my career. It's true.
Okay.
It is. I want kids. I want
Sorry.
I want 3 kids so that one of them will be like a little messed up and then he'll be creative and hopefully be like a dysfunctional.
And then you can have two.
Something.
You can have 2 functional ones that have
like
normal
the
jobs.
2 will get like all the love. Then I'll think have a third, and then the third one will be like I don't have enough love. I like paint his nails black. It's a boy.
You can kind of you can kind of like experiment with.
And
the
he'll become
third.
like one of the greatest authors or filmmakers of our time.
Or just a deadbeat.
I'm gonna have him like in a cellar in the basement, like he doesn't get to stay in the house. It's just my little plan. I didn't want to go into it, but you asked.
That's a real risky experiment. You know, you're either going to have an author or you're going to have, with the cellar in the basement, you're going to have like a
But
serial
I had so much to
killer or
write about.
something.
I always say I had such like a perfect childhood, and I have nothing bad ever. Oh my God, I shouldn't say that. I just said everything is good. Everything's been good, and so whenever I was in an acting class, they're like, draw upon that hard time. I'm like, when I was like taken to Build-A-Bear 3 times a week to like make a bear. I have nothing, so I want my kid to have a little more pain than I had, so maybe he'll be better at things.
Is that the new generation? That's millennials who want to raise their kids completely differently than their
But
parents.
once you have a third one,
I
why
must
not?
say, I really like Liz Gillies' a future approach to bringing up kids. You, get in the fucking basement and shut up. You, get up in the attic. I don't want to see you for 3 days. You
and then
come
one
with
of them,
me.
you come with me. You want some candy?
You're not going to have authors or artists. You're going to have feral children who don't speak English that well.
You're right.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. It's a TV show. It's like a reality
Let's
show.
do it. A
Liz
spin-off.
Gillies raises her kids. What's going to happen?
I'm by the pool like Mrs. Robinson with like a cocktail and like a big sunglass. That's like my dream. Okay, I'm sorry. What was the show?
That's great. No.
Yeah.
Let's check and see how many Twitter followers we have now. It wouldn't be great if the number went up.
Yeah, it's all mommy
hope she
blogs.
raises
You just hit the
kids.
mommy blog. So talk about writing the songs. Did you write all the songs for the show as well?
No, I didn't.
Yes, but you
sorry,
at least
I have
co-wrote all
tears
of
in my
them.
eyes from laughing at Liz's fucking Planned Parenthood situation going on over here. I wrote the theme song, "Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll," and the other songs were co-written by me and Chris Phillips, who's an old collaborator of mine. He co-wrote the "Asshole" song with me years ago. I was lucky when I was a teenager. I was going to Emerson College in Boston, and I was in a theater group called the Emerson Comedy Workshop. We did original shows and original music. The music students ended up quitting and joining bands. And a lot of those bands were notable rock bands. The Jim Carroll Band, the Del Fuegos, the Raging Slab. The drummer became one of the guys who drummed for Ozzy Osbourne at one point back then. So I had access backstage to all these gigs and also on tour buses and hotel rooms. And so these bands were all big at one moment in time. Like Jim Carroll's band was huge with the song "Those Are People Who Died,"
yeah.
you know? So, I mean, they were flying on a record company jet at one point. So
That's crazy, because that's the only big song that they're
Exactly.
Catholic Boy, kind of, but people
actually,
who
by
died.
the way, those were really interesting gigs because Jim Carroll would come out and all of like these kids in Ohio in a football stadium would be like, "Those are people who died." But then as soon as he's done with that song, it's all about like fucked up heroin addiction,
Yeah,
the
he's
Lower
Jim
East
Carroll.
Side. Yeah, and he can't really sing. You know what I mean? And he was a fucking heroin addict. You
And
know?
he was a poet. I bet he
He was a
read
poet.
poetry on
yeah,
stage.
he did read
too,
poetry
for-
on stage. And you'd see the kids, big fat kids with beers going, "What the fuck is this shit?" You know. So, but anyways, I got to witness a lot of access to fame, temporary fame, and rock star behavior. So those guys have been in as rock and roll musicians for the last 35 years, and they play in my live band when I do concerts and stuff. So I got them into the studio for Liz's songs, and I got Greg Dooley, who's an old friend of mine, the lead singer of and songwriter for the Afghan Whigs, and the Whigs, who had just reunited last year, into the studio. And the Whigs and Dooley recorded all the old Heathen songs, and the new stuff was done by all the guys, my old friends and guys that are in my band, and Liz. So all I did really was, Chris and I would co-write the songs, but go into the studio and turned it over to Greg Dooley for the old stuff, and then turned it over to Liz and the band, and let them have I think we spent 3 weeks at Electric Lady with the band and Liz just working out what they were going to do. So I really shouldn't take full credit, because without her voice, number one, and those great musicians, we wouldn't have the music on the show. If I didn't have Greg Dooley, I wouldn't have the Heathen songs from the old days.
But arguably, if you didn't write them either, they wouldn't exist. So
But
credit
you know
is
what I'm
due a
saying.
little bit.
You know what I'm saying.
They always say that all actors and comedians want to be rock stars. Did you have that fantasy before you wrote the show?
Let me tell you something. Of course I did.
Yeah.
My first rock and roll memory was Rolling Stones singing Satisfaction. I don't know what the television show was. It's probably 1965 or 66. The first time I heard that riff, dan, dan, and I saw Mick Jagger, and I saw them, I was like, what is this? What's that riff? What's that fucking job? How do you get that? But when I was a teenager and those guys were joining bands, I said, I think I want to be a lead singer in a band. And they were like, you have to quit school and quit everything and just fucking do this full time. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of commitment. So I stuck with the acting. But I sing the Asshole song at least twice a year in front of 15,000 people at a couple of charity concerts. And I've been doing that
Wait,
for
the
years.
Asshole song started at charity concerts?
No, but I mean, wouldn't that be great? Raising money for ass cancer tonight. Please help us. Call 1-800-ASSHOLE. But I mean, I've sung that song probably a million fucking times, So when it was when we put the show together, my tech advisor, Adam Roth, a great guitar player and an old friend of mine, said, you better do some work on what your moves are going to be, because if you want to be a rock star, you have to actually be cool. It's not just about looking or acting cool for a few seconds. If we're going to film live, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I fucking know how to sing in front of a... So I got out, the first day we rehearsed at SIR, we marked out the stage for as big as it would be at Irving Plaza, where we were going to film the archival concert footage. And it was me and all the actors and all the tech advisors. And I came out and started singing Sex and Drugs and dancing around. And I was fucking 8 bars in, and he cut. And I figured Corbett fucked up, And he was like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? I'm dancing around. He's like, no, this is not dancing. This is fucking horrible. This is you look like you're having a fucking seizure, dude.
What were you doing?
I just thought I was dancing cool, man.
Were you trying to do like a Jagger? Did you have someone in your head that you were trying to emulate while you were doing it?
I think I was I thought
He was twerking.
I thought it was Iggy Pop meets David Bowie, and instead it was Elaine Bennis meets fucking somebody having an aneurysm, And he was like, you go home tonight and you have to sit down and study rock stars. And what I came to discover is that you actually have to be really fucking cool to be a rock star. I mean, Mick Jagger, Joan Jett, anybody we want to pick and name, the people that really take center stage in a band actually are charismatic people that take the stage.
It's in their bones. It's just there.
That's why you stare at them. You know what I mean? That's why they have something to say.
They're freaks of nature. You can't take your eyes off.
Yeah, it's like when Joan Jett walked on our set when she was doing the episode that she was in. It was a live gig. There was about 600 people, extras in the audience. She walked in that room. You just automatically you forget it's fucking Joan Jett. Everybody's eyes are on her. Every guy, every chick. So. That's what I really learned is that to be a rock star, to be the lead singer, to be the center of attention, you got to really fucking be actually cool. And I'm not. I fixed it in the editing room.
Yes, you are.
Well, and
People think you're cool.
You guys think I'm cool?
Yes. It's Dennis Leary.
Right.
Come on.
You're very.
But let me say something. David Bowie. Now that's cool.
Oh, we're not.
Right. You know what I mean?
Well, that's different.
Yeah, that's a whole Mick Jagger, Keith Richards.
There's different levels for things.
Yeah.
Different things.
Right.
You're very good at performing as the sort of younger version of your character when we see in sort of old footage or footage that's supposed to be old of your character, and then the new guy who's trying to get on stage and trying to perform in one of the episodes. You know, your movements were a little slower; they were a little more stilted. I thought it was a really good summary of like what it would actually look like to be an aged rock star. You're trying to do those old things, but just kind of stepping. That's all you can muster. And you're so sexy and so charismatic when you are singing.
I didn't get sexy, by the way. Did you notice that?
Thank you.
I didn't get sexy. Well, it's okay. It's all right.
Dennis,
Maybe he wasn't done.
I can't. No.
I think the clothes. I mean, they dressed us really cool. We both wore some like lizard skin pants, and it was fun, and that helps, I guess, the persona a little bit. Yeah, we did.
I mean, you come from a kid show though, and the kind of woman that would want to be a rock star in this arena is very different from someone who sings on a kid show or sings outside of a kid show. How did you, how did you get close to this character? How did you figure them out or start singing like this?
Well, I mean, I honestly feel like this character was in me for a long time, and then on the Nickelodeon show that I was on, Victorious, I played an edgier girl, and I actually wrote a song for the last season. I think that's what you saw. I wrote a song for the last season of the show for my character. Which,
you wrote it yourself?
Yeah, I wrote it years before when I was maybe 15, and then I never heard anything from the executive producer. And I was like, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, we're doing that this week. And I'm like, well, I don't even remember. And then we did it, and it was like a pop rock kind of thing, but I got to rock out a little bit. But this one was always in me. I was always more of an adult than a kids show kind of girl, but I never pretended to be a kids show kind of girl on the show. So this is perfect. I'm very happy.
When you get out of a kids show and you move into doing a show like this, and the show isn't particularly R-rated or anything, but it's an adult television show.
Yeah.
But do you run into any walls with agents or anybody being like you should stay with the kids stuff or you should stay with younger?
No. They were good. I can only play 17 for so long. Certain things start to work against you, and you can't play young anymore. So this has been wonderful. I didn't think I'd get to do this transition as early as I did. There's usually a middle ground, whether it's like an ABC Family or an MTV, but I kind of leaped right into FX, and I'm happy that I did, and I hope I pull it off.
Dennis, I have to say again, I was so surprised to see your name as the writer on all of these episodes. What was the schedule like for you?
I'm sorry, I just noticed you guys have a dolly shot in the back.
Yeah,
that's
isn't that
awesome.
cool?
Oh, look
it's
at
pretty
that.
fucking big budget over here.
Look at all the camera. Dennis, they're filming us.
I knew we had like 3 over here, but then I saw the dolly. I'm like, this is a big fucking show.
It's like sweeping shots of us.
And that, my friend, goes in the sizzle reel.
Wow.
For sure.
I should sit up straighter for the dolly. I forgot the question.
Oh, I'm just curious what your schedule was like. You know, you're in every scene. You're writing every episode. What is that like for you?
Oh, you mean on the set?
On the whole show. I mean,
well,
from development to.
I have to be there anyways. I mean, even if I wasn't in it and I was just writing it and executive producing, I have to be there anyways.
You directed a few as well.
I did direct a few, which is way easier than it sounds. It is. It really when the actors know what they're doing and you have a great crew and a great DP. And you've got the look already, you're basically all set,
So how do you feel when people come up and say, well, directing's really hard, you're making every decision, it's really difficult, you think they're full of shit?
No, here's what I think. I can honestly say this because here's a good example, Louis C.K. Louis C.K., to me, even when he was a young guy, always had truly a cinematic vision. If you ever get a chance to see any of his short films, which are from way earlier in his career, there was a vision in that guy's head. The first time you saw a film that he made, you went, oh, he's got his own thing, right? I mean, his show to me is something that came purely out of his head. And that's why I think him directing and running his show the way he does is completely different from me. I got to bring in, again, just like with the actors and the musicians, I bring in really good people, I explain what I want, and they go get it for me. As opposed to Louis. I think Louis is one of those guys that hopefully soon is going to start directing movies because I think he's that talented. For me, I don't know about that leap, you know what I mean? I'm good at getting you all in the room, getting you to host, getting the dolly guy to move the thing back there. Let's get Liz to talk, okay? Everybody got water? Let's go. That's me.
Is it true that you were kind of an early funder of Louis' work as well? There's some story that you cut him a check one random day for a film he was working on.
I did, but I wasn't the only guy. It was me, Jon Stewart, Chris Rock, when he was sort of down and out, but he was still... and the Chris Rock show had ended at that point on HBO, which he wrote for. And he had a couple ideas for great movies, and I had seen his stuff before and said, yeah, of course we'll give you money to see what happens.
Was he just like one of those guys that, like, even if he was down and out, all of the other comedy guys who were successful were like, you got to help Louis. He's amazing. He can't be down and out.
I think he's a fucking director. And I think he's turned himself into a great actor as well. But I think he's a guy that, after Louis ends, I think he's going into the movies. And I think I would be very excited to see what he's going to do. I don't really think that way. I'm always thinking about my DP, trying to get something out of my head and get into my DP's head, you know. So, and I'm all about, I love the actors to improvise. So whatever we write in terms of a script, even on Rescue Me, we did it this way. We get them in the room. Some scenes we may keep if the actors are happy with it, but most of the time we just say, okay, here's our bullet points. We know what has to happen. Let's put 2 or 3 cameras up, you know, and let's throw the pages away and let's let everybody go and see what happens. And quite often we get way funnier and way better stuff that way. You know, you have to kind of fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
would
scary.
make like hard lefts when we were supposed to make a very definite right, and we would just go way off the reservation. But
Were you expecting that, Liz? Were you comfortable with that right away?
I loved it. It was a big part of my audition with you too, though. You wanted to make sure that I could do that and that I could handle a little improv. And
Plus, I didn't say, like, she would go home at night and memorize her fucking lines for a 7-page scene, and then come in the morning and I'd go, no, we're not fucking doing that.
Yeah,
we're totally improvising it.
I
And I'm
literally.
like,
First of all, you don't even know this. When we were in the recording studio, we were given, which is kind of unusual, we were given most of the scripts up front, maybe like 7 of them. So I knew you like ish well from the pilot, but I didn't know you like that well. So I was sitting next to you and you're like, do you have all your lines memorized? For like 7 scripts. So like that's not usually, and I got freaked out and I'm like, well,
I was fucking with her.
I know, but I know that now, but I didn't. So I literally, Dennis, I went home and
I know you did.
I kind of memorized 7 scripts in like 2 days. And then on top of that, you're like, let's not do lines.
Let's throw lines in. Let's forget the script.
Let's forget the script. Let's do this all with movement. No sounds.
This cast, the core people on Rescue Me were really good at improvising, and the core group here is terrific at it. We find some great stuff that
It's funny.
Yeah, the whole scene at the piano with she and I at the beginning of 3, I think.
It was actually, if it had continued.
Oh, did they show a clip from that?
Yeah, but if it goes longer and then it gets more dramatic, and that whole thing was like dramatically improv throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I just said, listen, we both know we have to go. We have the very top. Let's just fucking put up 2 cameras and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you get a sense from that in the show. You get a sense that you guys are going somewhere that wasn't on the page already. It feels really spontaneous and natural and truthful a lot of the time.
I hope so.
There you go. Let's get some questions.
Oh, questions. Yay. I have a question. That Dolly.
For who?
I have a question for the Dolly guys. They're not even
Has it been hard for you to get a dolly for the show? Are you jealous right now?
How much you want for it?
Listen,
you can't
man.
have my dolly, Dennis. You cannot have my dolly.
I love that they're not even fucking paying attention to us right now. The Dolly people are the best
They're saying
people in the
dolly
building.
stuff into their dolly
What's
microphone.
up, man? All right. Got to wave.
Get back to work.
Can I get a little left to right now, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude. This is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's just have moments of silence while we watch the dolly.
Is this supposed to be way more like?
Can you sit back down? The dolly's right
You're
behind
blocking
you.
the Dolly.
God.
I'm
Oh
sorry,
my
Steve.
God! I'm so
sorry.
sorry. Fuck.
What's your question?
Now, when we come the next time, can we have a drone shot that just floats up in and out of the rafters and then? No? Okay.
I promise you can ask your question. Just a second ago, he tried to get up again, and you started. And he's like,
I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
sorry.
do it.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Here we go.
What a voice you have. Sorry.
Dennis, I'm just curious if you've, at any point in your career, have ever felt like Johnny Rock, where maybe you blew an opportunity or missed out on something that could have led to big things, and if you incorporated it into your character on this show.
No. I have no regrets. And I did a lot of drugs and fucked up crazy things that I should be dead when I was young. But whatever. I mean, look where I am. I'm from downtown Worcester, Massachusetts, from a 3-decker. And I'm sitting here on AOL talking to the fucking Dolly guys. I mean, you know what I mean? Right? So... And I was in a movie with fucking Clint Eastwood, like fucking 10, 12, I don't know, even know when it was, but who gives a shit? I have a picture of me and Clint Eastwood that my mother has in her living room. fucking Clint Eastwood. He was already a movie star when I was a kid. I mean, that's, come on. Let me just tell you something. When I go to a thing and I see Robert De Niro, he says, "Hey, Dennis," and I always go, "I have to leave because I have a hard on. I have to leave right now." So I don't give a fuck how I may have fucked it up, but I'm here. You know what I mean?
Do you still have trouble playing it cool with big celebrities and people that you grew up with that were famous?
You were excited to meet Kathy Bates 2 days ago.
I totally blew the Kathy Bates
No, you didn't. You
thing.
did a good job, I think.
No,
I
I
looked
totally
from afar.
fucking blew it.
You did?
I met Kathy Bates. Huge fan of hers.
She looked happy to see you.
Yeah, until the end.
Oh, I don't know.
I totally.
Did you try to? What did you
fucking,
do? Were you
I
fresh?
blew it. I should have gotten out when I had the chance and shut my mouth.
What did you say?
I love that you blew Kathy Bates. Like, that's the one that you really screwed up.
I didn't have enough time with her to explain what I was trying to get out of my head.
She was on her way out.
I talked too much and I went too. What happened was I saw Kathy Bates. We were at Comic-Con, okay? And I saw Kathy Bates come into this room where they had food for all the
It's like
actors.
the American Horror Story cast.
Yeah, I love Kathy Bates.
And I love American Horror Story, but I maintained my cool and I stayed at my table.
I should have.
Go on.
But in my head, I was like, I've always, like, if this show was going to stay on TV, I'd love to have Kathy Bates on. I don't know what character she would play yet. Like an idiot. I tell these guys, too, I'm like, there's fucking Kathy Bates. And they were like, just leave her alone. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, it's obviously God has sent me this message. This is the moment when I'm supposed to meet Kathy Bates. And I went over and I introduced myself and I went, she was sitting down talking to somebody and I interrupted like a fucking idiot. I was like, sorry to interrupt. Kathy Bates, my name is Dennis Leary. Yeah, I hope you know who I am, but if you don't, I'm an actor. And she was getting up and she was already wide-eyed, like kind of looking for security. And I was like, I'm your biggest fucking fan, and I had this show, and this show it's on FX, and if this show goes, I'd love to have you come on the show. And she started sitting down and letting go of my hand. She was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
And
I
turned
didn't know
to
that.
her friend, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like a fucking nut job. And then she kind of went like this, like turned her shoulder, and I was like, I fucking blew the Kathy Bates.
Do you want to
deal.
say anything to her if she's watching this
Kathy,
AOL build?
hi.
This camera?
This is Dennis Leary. I'm not crazy, right?
I'm not crazy either. Was that?
No, I wanted you to back up that I was.
Oh, no, he's not. He's just a big fan. He loves you.
I'm just a big fan.
He's just a big fan.
Big fan. I'm not crazy, right? No.
I mean, you're not coming off that crazy right now.
There goes that deal.
You need one of those moments like every other year, though, where you blow it with a famous person so you can constantly remember that for a couple of years. For that moment where you
I've done
I'm
it.
a huge fan. I love your work. I'm your first movie. I was a big fan of your first movie. Like
I blew it with the president. Told that story on Fallon.
It's not a big one, though.
Couldn't talk. Got invited to the White House reception for the Red Sox. I got my moment when the president took my hand, and I went. And I got to tell you, I would have fucked the president right then. I was so in love with him. I was like, oh my God, this is the most handsome person in the world. And he was like this. He was like, okay, thanks for coming, man. And my buddy was like, dude, why didn't you say something? And I was like, I kept waiting for the words to come out, but my face was this. And I've done that a number of times with very famous people. Athletes, man, I'm a nightmare. I'm a fucking nightmare if I meet like a famous athlete from like I've never met Carl Yastrzemski. It's my favorite Red Sox player of all time. I'm afraid to meet him because I know I'll fuck it up somehow. You know what I mean?
I have people like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet, yeah.
There's people, I think it's good to still be scared of people.
Yeah.
Like if Jesus showed up right now, I'd probably blow it with him. You know what I mean?
I think Jesus, I'd be cool with. Jesus, I'd be like, everybody loves you, whatever. We got time for a couple more questions. We have time for one more question, actually.
One? That's it?
This is going to be the last one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we ate up a lot of the time.
Sorry.
We do that.
I better make it a really good one and not blow it. So,
Yeah.
First of all, thank you guys both so much for coming. I'm a huge fan. Dennis, I wanted to know that if you could add a line to the Asshole song right now, what would it be?
Wow, that's
such a great question.
From my boss.
It's really good.
You know what? I should write a line for that song about douchebags that are walking around the streets, including my kids sometimes, staring down, texting on their phone while they're coming into an intersection where I have a green light. Definitely.
I'm not clapping because I'm one of those douchebags myself. Guys, the show premieres tomorrow night on
Yes.
FX, right? What
10
time does
p.m.
it? 10
10
p.m.
p.m.
FX.
Next 10 weeks, keep watching. And if
Don't
you run
get up for 10
if you run
weeks.
into Kathy Bates, listen.
Help him out. He's torn up about
just tell
this.
her, you know, he's a little crazy, but he's not that crazy.
Again, not that crazy.
He's
Yeah.
not, I'm not that crazy.
A sprinkle of
I'm not
crazy.
misery crazy,
No, that.
you know? Why was that kind of a groan?
I think
That was-
suddenly everybody's head went to the ankle shot. Like, you can't say the
What
word
a great
misery
movie.
without
Have
people
you
being
seen
like,
it recently? It's still fucking scary. She's so good in that movie.
she's amazing. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you so
Thank
much.
you
Thanks
for
for
being here,
having
guys.
us.
Thank you for watching on AOL.
That was awesome.